Good afternoon, FBC Salinas. This is Pastor John coming to you with another edition of the Midweek Refresher Video. You like the echo? I hope you did. I hope your week is going well too, and it's my desire to provide some information as well as inspiration for you in the midst of your week. Hope it's all going well for you, and if not, may this video be a reminder that Jesus Christ is with us through it all. And so, hey, just two bits of information for you. The first is this: family camp is this weekend. If you're not attending family camp, I would invite you and encourage you to spend some time praying for those who are participating in family camp this weekend, that they have a wonderful time. Again, if you have questions about it, please don't be afraid to call the church or email the church at info@fbcsalinas.com, and we'll get that information to you. Looking forward to participating in a portion of it, and I'm also then looking forward to being back here worshiping at the church here on campus on Sunday, and we get to look at a great passage, which I'll get to in just a moment. So anyway, be praying for family camp this weekend. Second announcement is that a week from this Sunday, which is August 1st, at 6 p.m., we are having a hymn sing. It will be a great time to gather with one another and sing, not just simply hear, but sing these great hymns, as well as know the backstory of many of these hymns. And I cannot encourage you enough to be here to hear from an individual who I've come to know and really enjoy being around, a guy by the name of David Bulge, setting up a ministry in the Chinatown area called Closer Walk. And David has a deep heart, not only for Jesus Christ, but for people. And he's going to be here to talk about how Jesus Christ came into his life and what the impact that has made on him and his family throughout the course of the last number of years especially. And so invite you to be here for that. Again, that's August 1st at 6 p.m. here in the sanctuary. And afterwards, we'll have some ice cream. And David will be sticking around so you can talk to him if you have questions about how you can get involved in his ministry down in Chinatown. So those are the 2 points of information that I have for you. And now on to the inspirational portion. We have been going through the book of Philippians. If you didn't know that, then you haven't, I'll just leave it at that. We're going through the book of Philippians. And we come to arguably one of the most powerful passages in the entire New Testament. It's something that Paul penned, and it is deeply, there's so much to it that we could spend a whole lot of time here. But he starts it off in verse 5, and we're going to touch on verse 5 for just a moment. And then we're going to move back to the Old Testament for just a moment. But in Philippians chapter 2, verse 5, Paul says this to the Philippians. He says, in your relationships with one another. So what he's talking about is the relationships that you have with one another as far as in your family, your friends, your co-workers, wherever there's a relationship. In those relationships, have the same mindset of Christ Jesus. In essence, what he's saying is have the same attitude, have the same perspective. Represent Jesus in those relationships, no matter what the relationship is. Parent, child, husband, wife, if you're a single person, your friends that you hang out with, if you're a grandfather or grandchild, whatever, all these different relationships, boss, an employee, a co-worker, all across the board, have the same mindset of Christ Jesus. Why? Because it's contagious. It's contagious. When we represent Jesus Christ, it's amazing what ends up happening in those relationships. Yes, there might be some tension there, but at the same time, there is this idea of, wow, there's something different about this person. And the reason why I'm touching on that relationship, or not just the relationship, but that attitude, and I said this a few moments ago, it's contagious. Back in Deuteronomy chapter 20, Moses is sharing with the people what God has to say about when they go to war, when they enter into battle. And there's a verse in here in Deuteronomy 20 that sort of leapt off the page at me as I'm thinking about what I'm preaching on this Sunday as far as the attitude of Jesus Christ. Listen to what happens here. Deuteronomy chapter 20, starting at verse 5. The officers shall say to the army, has anyone built a new house and not yet begun to live in it? Let him go home so he may or he may die in battle, and someone else may begin to live in it. Has anyone planted a vineyard and not begun to enjoy it? Let him go home, or he may die in battle, and someone else enjoy it. Has anyone become pledged to a woman and not married her? Let him go home, or he may die in battle, and someone else marry her. So he's laying out all these different life situations and saying, if you fall into this, please go home, because otherwise you're not going to be able to enjoy what's happened in your life recently. And then he does something very interesting. At least for me, I find it interesting. Listen to these words in verse 8. Then the officers shall add, is anyone afraid or faint-hearted? Let him go home, so that his fellow soldiers will not become disheartened too. Do you see the difference there? All of a sudden, he switches it and says, listen, your attitude, if you're faint-hearted or you're afraid, that's contagious. And you're entering into a battle. We need everybody to be on point. We need everybody to be ready to go. And he says to the faint-hearted and to the afraid, go home. The reason why you need to go home is because that attitude's contagious. As I wrap up this midweek refresher video, I want all of us to understand that whatever our attitude is, it's contagious. If it's a good attitude, it's contagious. If it's a bad attitude, it's contagious. And here's the kicker. When it's an attitude of Jesus Christ, it's contagious and it changes everything. So it's my prayer as we enter into looking at Philippians chapter 2, verses 5 to 11, that we will have an attitude of Jesus Christ, one that is contagious, one that so influences those around us that they can't help but say, wow, I'm going to keep going. May we not be faint-hearted. May we not be afraid to represent Jesus in our attitude and all our relationships. I love you. I hope the rest of your day goes well. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.